Good morning, children. This is Mrs. Anjum Aleem from Springfields, Masabtank, biology teacher for class 10th. Today we are going to continue with the same lesson number 3, transportation. In this video, we will be covering how does the transportation take place in plants. So we will talk about xylem and phloem. We will talk about the transpiration and also translocation. We will also talk about the aphid experiment. Now, from your previous knowledge, if you remember, transportation of materials in plants. In 9th class, you have studied that conducting tissues are called as the vascular bundles. So, vascular bundles comprises of xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem are called vascular bundles which conducts water and food to all parts of the body. What is the function of xylem? Xylem conducts and transports water. It absorbs water from the roots by the process of osmosis, and this water is carried to all parts of the plant. In eucalyptus up to 200 meters. Now, as you have observed, when people having their cool drinks, they use straw. Whatever pressure they apply on the straw, the same kind of pressure is developed in the plants, with which the water is able to reach up to a height of 200 meters. So xylem is actually responsible for conduction and transportation of water in plants, whereas phloem transports food from leaves to all parts of the plant. You know that the food is prepared in the leaves. Leaves are called as the kitchen of the plant, and from there the food is prepared by photosynthesis. After the glucose starch is prepared, it is transported from leaves to all parts of the plant via phloem. There is a pressure developed which is called as the root pressure. So root pressure is developed or it is caused by the movement of water molecules into the roots from the soil as a result of the active absorption of nutrient mineral ions from the soil. This you can just keep in mind when you take a sip with the help of a straw. When you are taking a sip of a juice with the help of a straw. In the same way, the root pressure is caused, the pressure is developed. For this, we will do a small experiment. In this experiment, we have to take one potted plant and cut it with a small stem. Cut the plant. Just the small portion of the stem should be left over, and keep this pot in a tray containing water. Now we will take one glass tube and we will try to fix it and clamp it to the stem portion with the help of a clamp. The glass tube is filled with little water and the level of the water is marked as M1. Leave this apparatus for some time. After overnight, after one day, you will observe that the level of the water in the glass tube increases and mark it as M2. Now, what caused the water level to rise? Actually, the water is present in the tub which we have taken, and from there the water is absorbed by the roots and it is passing into the stem, from whereby it is accumulating in the glass tube. So what can we conclude here? That there is a root pressure existing which is causing the water to travel from roots up to the stem, and the level of the water increases in the glass tube. We can also see one LS of root showing the relationship of root hair and the soil water. This is the LS of a root showing the relationship of root hair and soil water, where we can see the soil particles are present here. Soil particles are surrounded by film of water. Root hair is present. We can also see xylem, epidermal cells, endodermis. Again, this question is very important. It is asked in the exam. How explain with an experiment, or they can ask you How does the water travels by the process of osmosis in roots? Then you have to write movement of water from the root hair cells to the xylem vessels would create an upward force to push the water up the xylem vessels. This is known as root pressure. What is root pressure? The movement of water. Now water is having hydrogen and oxygen. So that is hydrogen bonds are present. They are very strong. They are just one molecule of water is bonded to the another molecule of water. That is how the water is able to travel the long distances, like in eucalyptus plant, as I told you, up to 200 meters. From the roots, the water is traveling up to 200 meters. This is possible only because of the root pressure, and this root pressure is created because of the water molecules moving in the upward direction. What is transpiration? The evaporation of water through leaves is called as transpiration. Water evaporates through stomata of leaves and lenticels of stems. You know that lenticels are present on the stem. So to do this also we can perform one small activity. We can take one potted plant and take one of the stem of the plant and tie a polythene bag to it, as it is shown in this slide. You can tie a polythene bag and leave it in the sunlight. The photosynthesis takes place, all the processes takes place, and after 8 hours or overnight, or after 8 hours or after 12 hours, you can remove the plastic bag and observe inside. We will observe water droplets inside the polythene bag. What does this indicate? This indicates that the water has been evaporated from the leaf and accumulated in the plastic bag. So the process of evaporation of water through leaves is called as transpiration. Then what is translocation? Translocation is same as transpiration. There the water is evaporating. Here translocation means transportation of food. So for this we have an example of aphids. They have mouth parts which is having one piercing thin structure called as proboscis, mouth part, which it introduces into the stem part and reaches the phloem of the stem and derives its food. The proboscis is able to reach the phloem and it is able to suck the food materials from the phloem. This was an experiment was conducted by the scientist taking the section of proboscis where he observed that the food was present and the food was derived from phloem. You can see in this second figure how the needle-like mouth part proboscis is entered into the phloem and it is deriving the food particles. That is called as a translocation. Now there is one more experiment which is actually we are doing it to see what happens if the phloem is disturbed or it is damaged. Removing a ring of bark from a woody branch will result in the removal of the phloem tissue in that region. So what happens? The food is prepared in the upper part of the plant and it is traveling down. Once it reaches the part where the phloem ends, it swells there, showing that the growth. And the further growth in the lower portion does not take place. As you can observe in these two slides, the arrow is there. The accumulated material, food material. Accumulated food material causing the thickening of the stem. How does the growth take place and the food is accumulated in the upper portion of the stem and the lower portion remains as it is? No growth in that. That means the food is traveling through the phloem. The swelling above the ring where phloem is removed will be caused by accumulation of sugars in that region. So today we have seen transportation of water and food materials in plants, root pressure and its experiment, transpiration and translocation. With this we complete this chapter. Note down homework please. What is root pressure? Explain the way how plants get water by osmosis through the root hair. And what is transpiration? Thanks for watching this video.